Good evening, Mr. Bond fans, and welcome once again. So, obviously, No Time to Die has been postponed, the release. Hopefully, we will be seeing it in spring of 2021. Hopefully, maybe, who knows. I think it's really interesting that we're living in this kind of strange phase that I don't think has really existed that much in Bond before, where we have actually seen so much marketing material and so much different marketing material from the film so far ahead of its release. Obviously, when the new date came in, it came with a new poster, new trailers, all these new marketing materials, and the marketing machine was really gearing up for November 2020. And a part of that was that Daniel Craig and Billie Eilish and her brother were on the Jimmy Kimmel show in the US to promote the film. And I saw the interview, I thought it was quite fun. They still went ahead with it despite the the next postponement, which is interesting in itself. I guess that they just couldn't reschedule or something, or maybe Jimmy Kimmel couldn't get anyone else involved or something, I don't know. I thought it was a fairly good interview. Daniel Craig was interestingly kind of lit. Obviously, he was Skyping or zooming in from his home with a single light bulb above his head, looking almost like he's in some sort of prison interrogation. But it was fun. He was in good spirits and all that kind of stuff. But one of the more interesting aspects of that segment was that they showed a new clip, a full clip, the first clip we have of No Time to Die. When I first heard about the clip, I was it was like the Bond and the bridge thing, and I was like, whatever, because you know what, we've seen so much of that sequence in previous trailers and all this kind of stuff, so I was like, okay, whatever, it's that scene again, and I didn't pay it much mind. But then watching it through a couple more times, I was kind of like, actually, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on in that clip, and stuff that is really intriguing me for how it's going to play in the final film. So I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at it in a bit more detail and talk about some points that I think are of interest. So the clip, like I say, is all focused around that one bridge that we see Bond dive off of in the trailer. The clip opens with Daniel Craig running onto the bridge. He's clearly chasing somebody. First thing of note is that Daniel Craig's run is a lot more flappy army than it has been. He had this very specific kind of run in Skyfall and Spectre, and here that's kind of gone out of the window, and as a result of that, he seems much more disoriented. It's I don't know, there's something very efficient about that kind of Skyfall run that he did down Whitehall. Like, right, yeah, that's a professional, you know, he's been trained to do that. Here it just feels a bit more natural, and obviously he looks like he might have been in some kind of explosion. There's kind of, you know, he's certainly looking dirty, and he's chasing what looks to be a young lad. I'm guessing he's maybe like, 13, 14 years old, something like that. So he's chasing the boy. The boy stops at the other end of the bridge, causing Bond to stop in the middle. Bond, like, slows down, and then it looks like the kid, like, kind of smirks at him or gives him some kind of villainous look, and Bond acknowledges that and kind of looks almost sheepish. Like, he looks down, like he's like, I don't know, he's realized there's some kind of futility in that moment. I don't know what role this kid plays. I'm guessing, I wonder if it's some kind of, the boy's some kind of messenger for the villains or something, and Bond is chasing him, but then kind of realizes, actually, you know what, this is futile, this lad isn't really worth going after, or something like that. It's a really strange moment, but I'm very curious. It's also curious because we do not often see Bond interact with children, so and you know, I'm guessing this boy's in early teens, something like that, and you know, God, I mean, the only other instance of Bond interacting with a child that springs to mind is when he threw one off a boat in The Man with the Golden Gun.
I'm afraid I have to hurry you.
Bloody tourists!
So it might well be for the boy's best interest that Bond stops pursuing him halfway across the bridge. If he caught up with him, he'd probably throw him off the bridge, knowing his history for throwing children off of things. Right, off you go. Bloody Tory! But it's that Bond kind of looks almost like embarrassed. He's looking sheepish. He's kind of like, oh, what am I doing? I don't know. There's something really strange about that moment, and it's something that we've never seen in another Bond film before. So I'm just kind of curious to know what's gone on there, why the kid is kind of, glaring at him so sinisterly. I mean, who knows, given how the twists and turns go in the Daniel Craig era, maybe this boy will be revealed to be Blofeld's son, or maybe even Blofeld himself, I don't know. But then this moment is over quite quickly as the boy sees that a car containing some villains shooting at Bond appears, and the boy himself looks to be quite alarmed by this sight, so I'm guessing that he's not fully in league with the villains. He might be some kind of, like I say, messenger or some kind of middle ground entity. Next up is probably my favourite moment of the whole thing, where I'm guessing that it looks like Bond, a bullet kind of like grazes just by his shoulder, and Bond like turns around kind of confused. He's like, what the hell was that? And then he sees that the car's coming and shooting at him, and then he reacts and dives out of the way. I love that moment so much. It's just so, it's so perfectly timed. Just the, oh, and then what the fuck was, oh, whoa, it's there. And I think Daniel Craig plays it really well. I don't think it's supposed to be funny exactly, but I do think it's quite interesting. And then of course he hides behind a little rock, the car, and then I love this shot of him just like looking at the camera. It's such a nice, and he's so like cool 1 second, and then it's almost like it just hits him like, oh no, wait, gotta keep moving, it's not over yet, which I really like. So he's then running back across the bridge, and then Primo, however we want to pronounce the henchperson's name, arrives on a motorbike, and then we've seen this moment from several of the trailers where they're coming at Bond from both ends of the bridge, and Bond has to then grab the wire and swing off of the bridge. Obviously it catches, and then I find this quite interesting. So Bond hits the wall and then has to fall, I would say maybe a good 2 meters or so to the ground. And then we have this shot of Craig, like Craig's impact, and he looks really disoriented. Like he sort of looks off to the side, he's looking like, whoa, what the hell happened then? And I think that's really interesting because I think that might be quite telling as to how he's gonna play Bond in this one. In Spectre, they were leaning him more towards the kind of suave, like, oh yes, I'm going to, fall several stories down and I'm just gonna toss the lamp to the side and, dust myself off and very suave and all this kind of stuff. This is not suave. Like, this is not him sort of swinging down and, touching the ground and then doing his cufflinks up and going off. Like, here he's really disoriented. He's really like, Jesus Christ, what was that? And it feels more like Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace Daniel Craig to me. And I think that might be an indication of how they're gonna play him. I think they might be hearkening more back to the brutal action stuff of Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, and in Bond's more sort of like everyman reaction to some of the violent stuff that happens to him in those films. Like I say, they could have played this off as like even if this is an emotionally intense moment, obviously we don't know the scenes that have come either side of this. I'm guessing that Bond is feeling quite emotional in this moment, but they could have made this, it's still a really cool moment, but they could have made it a more sort of suave or graceful moment for him, just like, like in Spectre, after he comes down after being ejected out of the car and just, off with the parachute, does the cufflinks, makes a witticism, and off he goes. That's not in this clip, which I find interesting. And then the clip ends with Primo going over, taking off his designer sunglasses and sort of leering over the edge of the bridge. And that's all we have. So we don't have much to go on. The only other thing of note, I think, is Hans Zimmer's score over it. Obviously, there was, and this might be a spoiler if you haven't seen they released one track from the Hans Zimmer soundtrack as like a sneak peek kind of thing, and it sounded really cool. I was so jazzed with that track. Whereas this music that plays during this is a bit more sort of like your more traditional Hans Zimmer score, I would say, which means that it's a lot of wow. There's certainly no kind of discernible theme from this, and if I hadn't heard that first sort of like sneak peek track that they released, I might well see this and think like, oh god, what's he gonna do with the soundtrack? But I'm actually like, nah, you know what, this sound design works very nicely for this moment, and it suitably sells the epicness of it, I will say, and I guess it's some kind of very dramatic moment emotionally for Bond, so that's gonna be interesting. But yeah, you know, because I just bring it up because I've seen some people kind of be like, oh god, what's Hans Zimmer doing with the soundtrack? And I think, you know, just hang on, let's just wait. Like I say, that first track I really adored, and I'm sure that that's going to be more present throughout the rest of the score. So there we go. That is my 2 cents of the first full released clip of No Time to Die. Please do let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as well. I think this is going to be the last big piece of marketing material that we're going to have for this film for a very long time. So it's kind of what we have left to live with for the next few months. And I'm going to try not to read too much into it, but I've already come back to it a fair few times. Maybe it's a bit of like a Rorschach test, like you see what you want to see in that moment where Bond is, you know, looking at the kid and the kid smirks and Bond looks, you know, sheepish or whatever it is. I don't know, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you've enjoyed this video and you would want to stay up to date on future videos that I upload on this channel, then please do hit the subscribe button below. Also below are links to my social media pages, so my Facebook and my Twitter page, so please follow me on those platforms if you aren't doing so already and would care to do. And until next time, Bond fans, so long for now.